Welcome to PeopleSoft Now. I'm Rebecca Jackson. We have a special episode for you today. We're sitting down with Paco Aubrejuan, Senior Vice President of Applications at Oracle and leader of the PeopleSoft team. We're going to talk about the investment strategy, the state of the business, and what comes next. We just finished the RECONNECT Envision conference where Paco did the keynote and demonstrated a host of new capabilities and a number of new announcements were made. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive in. Paco, thanks so much for joining us for this update on the PeopleSoft investment strategy.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
We have so much to talk about. We obviously just finished the RECONNECT Envision conference in late April. And before we dig into all the content that you cover there and all the good things that we have to talk about, I found the conference to be really energizing, almost as engaging as an in-person event. What was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I think, this was the second or third, but the second real big Quest conference that we've done remotely. And I think the experience with the one last fall really was encouraging. And so I came into this conference, I think, more having higher expectations about the level of engagement and knowing really what things were different, how it could be different than a regular conference. And so, for example, as anyone's presenting, but as I'm presenting or people on our team are presenting or customers, the ongoing chat dialogue, I think, is really kind of an interesting and valuable ability and feature, if you will, that we don't have in live conferences, right? So for people to be able to ask questions or make comments and have other people respond to those without interrupting the speaker, without the speaker even knowing it's happening, is a way that we can really, I think, see engagement happening during presentations about topics that are being discussed that we would never get at a regular conference. So the questions, just the number of people that we can have that are engaged is different than at a regular conference where we have costs associated with travel and all that. So I'm in a lot of ways, I think we can have even more of an impact in these conferences than a regular conference, just because of the number of people and the types of engagement. I miss seeing everyone, and I miss having the face-to-face. But yeah, I've been very, very pleasantly surprised and impressed with what we're collectively able to do, and the job Quest has done at the conferences.
I felt the same way. I really love too the way that even though the event is technically over now, we're still bringing up like the list of comments in chat and the questions that came up. I mean, we can really mine that content in a way to feed our ongoing roadmaps and our dialogue and the follow-up. And I just had a conversation this morning with a gentleman in Europe who was able to attend. And I just love the way it breaks down borders and so many more people can participate.
Yeah, and I hope we're back in person soon. But even when we are in person, I hope we are able to retain some of the reach and engagement virtually that we have now. So hopefully we're able to combine those two models and get the best of both worlds.
I hope so too. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So diving into some of the content pieces now, one of the things that happened right on the eve of the event in April is that Oracle announced that we've extended support for PeopleSoft to 2032. Why is that important?
Yeah, I think the main reason that that's important is because it's demonstrating that we're actually following through on our commitments. And this goes back to 2006 when we launched Applications Unlimited, and we told our customers that we were going to continue to invest in PeopleSoft indefinitely. We don't have a plan to stop, and that was going to include new capabilities as well as support. And then the following number of years and number of releases, we demonstrated that we were actually following through on that commitment. Well, this recent extension is the same. Several years ago, we'd gotten a lot of feedback from customers who were questioning the dates that we had for support ending, because we were still in the traditional model where it was kind of a new release model of support where we would provide 8 years from the release. And so there was these dates that were out there that everyone was always concerned about. And we said, well, why are we unnecessarily making all of our customers concerned about this when that's not really the model we have? And so we made a commitment several years ago to move to a 10-year rolling support model, which means that we'll support the products for 10 years. And as long as we don't have a plan to stop, we'll continue to extend that every year. So there's always 10 years of support until such a time that we decide we're not going to support PeopleSoft anymore, which we don't have a date planned or in mind. So there is no date right now. And so the extension, this is, I think, the second extension that we've made since the initial date was set at 2030. Last year, we extended that to 2031. This year, we extended to 2032. And I think it's important for customers to see that when we say we're going to do something, that we make a commitment like that we follow through on it. So that, to me, is why it's important beyond the actual additional year of support that we've committed to, is the fact that we're actually living up to the commitments we've made. And we've done that now with PeopleSoft. I mean, PeopleSoft has been part of Oracle now for over 15 years, and we've continued to do that.
I really like the rolling 10 years of support commitment. I think for me, in the conversations that I have with customers, it really changes the nature of the conversation from a burning platform and Oracle taking PeopleSoft away from them to a conversation around the investments that we're making, their opportunities with cloud applications, and what's the right decision for their business. And so I really appreciate that. Speaking of cloud applications, you talked about that in your keynote presentation, and our PeopleSoft customers have noticed that we're talking a little bit more about cloud applications. Why are we doing that?
Yeah, I know that people expect I'm the PeopleSoft guy, so I should just be talking about PeopleSoft, and everyone gets nervous when I start talking about cloud. My responsibility, I feel a responsibility to our customers beyond just from a PeopleSoft perspective. And the reality is that cloud technology, and specifically cloud applications delivered in a software as a service model, is a model going forward that will continue to gain prominence and is where this industry is heading. And so I feel like it would be doing a disservice to our customers to talk exclusively about what we're doing in PeopleSoft and not bring the cloud conversation into that. So, as our cloud applications have become, increasingly comprehensive, and they're now quite comprehensive in terms of the breadth and depth of the functionality and the capability, I feel like it's important to make sure that our customers understand that, and understand not just that our cloud applications are ready for our customers, but that we've had hundreds of PeopleSoft customers who've moved successfully and are alive and successful and happy on the cloud applications. I feel like, while we're not planning to force anyone to move to the cloud, we want to make sure that that is an option that our customers are looking at, and that they understand that there's many PeopleSoft customers who've done that. So I'll continue, and we will continue to provide information to PeopleSoft customers in a PeopleSoft context, right, from a PeopleSoft perspective, about our cloud applications, so that they can continue to make informed decisions.
You said something this time around that I thought was really interesting and compelling, which is that the conversation about cloud applications is more than just being a feature function replacement for PeopleSoft. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, who wants to spend a whole bunch of time and energy moving from a product to another product that does exactly the same thing? There's not a lot of value to the business. And so the point I was trying to make is that it's not, we want to look at more than just do the cloud applications have the functional capabilities that PeopleSoft does, which they largely do. But in many cases, and lots of examples where they have a lot more capabilities or different capabilities across a suite, that, because either they're built more recently in a particular area, so they take advantage of knowledge that we have now. They're oftentimes taking advantage of new technologies that we didn't have before to do something more efficiently, to do more automation in areas. So I think it's important that instead of just asking the questions, are the cloud solutions able to handle the needs of a PeopleSoft customer, to go beyond that and look at where are they going to provide capabilities that we don't have today in PeopleSoft, both functional and kind of technological that will add value to the line of business. So that was why. So we gave some examples of that across the suite, and there's tons of them, right? So
Right.
it's not just replace one with the other. It's add capabilities and allow the business to do things they couldn't do before.
And the impact in the change in business model. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, the thing that I love really about Oracle, and that I feel really strongly about, is that we give our customers options, and they have two great options now. And that
Right.
is cloud applications, if that's something that customers are ready for, as well as PeopleSoft. And we talked a lot about new announcements, new capabilities, the investments that we're making. So maybe can you touch on sort of your view of the PeopleSoft investment strategy as it stands today?
Yeah, and I think, and this is a little bit maybe stating the obvious, but I think it's worth stating just to make sure that we all understand what we're trying to achieve. Really, there's two primary dimensions of our investments. The first is we want to make sure that we're adding incremental value to the line of business user, right? We want to make the applications more productive and easier to use and more functional for the line of business, so that the business can evolve and the business can get more value. It's not enough that we can just keep the ship going at the same rate, that we can maintain what we have. Businesses need to evolve in a positive direction, and so we're focused on line of business capabilities. There's many examples of that. A lot of them are around the user experience and simplification. A lot of them are around functional areas, about taking enhancements that customers have asked us for functionally and delivering those in the products. We've always done that. We want to continue to really focus on, does this investment we're going to make help the line of business? The second dimension is around cost, and that is how do we as we continue to increase the value of PeopleSoft for the line of business, how do we continue to reduce the cost associated with running it? And so that's the whole other set of investments, and you'll hear us talk about things like running PeopleSoft on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or some of the lifecycle management changes we've made, about how do we reduce the cost associated with customizations and customization management. How do we reduce the cost associated with maintenance and keeping, we've introduced features like automatic downloads of what we call PRPs, or the patch sets that go on top of the images. So those are really where we're trying to focus the investment, is driving value for the line of business user and driving costs down for the companies and organizations that are running PeopleSoft.
You touched on a lot in both of those areas.
Yeah.
Let's dig into to each one and cover those sections in a little more depth. Let's start with Kibana, because that's perhaps one of the hottest topics of conversation right now in the PeopleSoft community. Why do you think that is?
Well, analytics has always been something that is garnered a lot of interest, because we focus a lot on putting data into these enterprise applications, and to automate processes and capture information about the business. But getting the data out in a way that's usable and valuable for the end users and for the line of business and for management has always been something that's been a big focus. And we could spend hours talking just about analytics and all the investments that we've made in embedding analytics with pivot grids and all that. The value of Kibana, I think, is it goes along the two dimensions we talked about. One is the visualizations are very nice, very modern. It's very fast. So it provides a level of insight that's hard to get through anything that's query based on the OLTP. But it also provides a level of capability and information that's also hard oftentimes to get in a data warehouse if customers are running a data warehouse. The thing that makes that really interesting is the ease and cost associated with deploying it, right? Because Kibana uses infrastructure that comes with PeopleSoft without an additional cost. It uses infrastructure, specifically the Elasticsearch infrastructure, that is already deployed with PeopleSoft that most of our customers are already running. And because it uses, a lot of the costs associated with analytics is about retrieving the data, whether it's through query or through ETLs to move the data. because Kibana uses indexes, elastic search indexes that have, oftentimes already been delivered and already in use, it makes the deployment of the turning on of the analytics very, very easy because the data sources are already identified in there. So when you combine kind of the how fast and powerful the visualizations are with the cost, both procurement costs, which is effectively zero outside of maybe some additional hardware, and the deployment cost, which is very low because we're already running it, that's kind of the best of both worlds. And so we've been talking about that now for a couple of years. People have been interested in it. I think one of the things that's really different in this year is that we've put a ton of investment into content. And so in my session and a lot of our sessions, we were able to show the actual end result, which show the dashboards for different particular roles in business processes and products. And so that people can see, wow, that's possible now with this Kibana analytics. Didn't really fully understand that. And so at the end of the day, now people are seeing what's possible and then coupling that with how easy it is and cheap it is to do. And there's a lot of excitement. And I'm excited about it. I mean, it's one of those things where we did, a moderate level of investment and got a huge amount of value.
It feels to me like it's, for the first time ever, really sort of ubiquitous high value analytics is really practical to take advantage of. In addition to all the application dashboards that we've been delivering, which you've touched on, and we continue to have on the roadmap, we recently announced that with PeopleTools 859, we've added a couple of important capabilities that will enhance the Kibana experience.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on those?
Yeah, I mean, the main one, there's new visualizations that we've had, so we continue to move forward with Kibana, the Kibana itself, and make the integration better and tighter. A couple of the things that we've done that are really important. The big one is that the one issue with the historical issue with Elasticsearch indexes is the data in those indexes is only as current as the last time you've run the index, either the incremental index or the full index. And so no one really generally likes to look at analytic data that is stale, even if it's only stale by a few hours. And so we put investment into PeopleTools 859, and we'll be rolling out application images that deploy this, which we call real-time indexing. And so without going into all the technical details, effectively when a transaction is done in the application, whether that's done via batch or whether that's done via online, we have the ability now to dynamically update the index data in near real time. It's oftentimes instantaneous. So with that, now looking at analytics, knowing that the data that's been put in or being put in is being reflected real time in the analytics, that's a huge value. So as customers move to 859 and as they take our application images that provide the application side of that solution across indexes, my hope is that, and expectation is that, our goal is that all indexes will eventually be real-time, updated real-time. We're going to start with a few and then we'll roll those out. The other big area of value is that, it's great to have PeopleSoft data in Kibana, but a lot of companies have data outside of PeopleSoft. And while our goal is not to replace the data warehouses that really bring the data together in star schemas and that we do now we've added the ability to bring external data in through Logstash into the Kibana solution so that we now can combine in either search or analytics, external data correlated with PeopleSoft data. So we think that that's another really big enhancement that customers will like.
One of the most fascinating things to me about the Kibana analytics is that it's analytics, but it also advances the user experience at the same time.
Yeah.
So kind of staying in the lane of user experience, by my count, we've been enhancing the PeopleSoft UI and delivering fluid capabilities and features for, I think, about seven, maybe going on 8 years now.
Yeah.
What's your take in terms of where we're at with delivering fluid capabilities, replacing classic capabilities with fluid, and sort of that, that general line of investment?
Yeah, so we've been, what we started off with fluid was, a goal to replace for casual users our classic pages with fluid, and because they look better. It's also gave us an opportunity when we've gone about to replace a classic solution, a classic process with the Fluid version of that is that we are able to redesign it to make it simpler. So it's not just using Fluid user interface, but using things like activity guides and navigation collections and just reworking how the solution works. That has been something we've been hard at work at for 7 or 8 years. And I feel like we've more or less done what we set out to do for the casual users. Not 100%, but pretty close. I mean, all the really important end user facing solutions in both HCM and ERP and the other solutions we have, we've done that. We've moved on and we started doing work centers. We've started now looking at administrative pages, not just to move them to Fluid, but looking at where can we add value to the end user by making the solution better. And so one of the solutions that I talked about in my session was job data, right? Job data is a transaction that's for HR administrators to do all kinds of actions for employees. Very, very powerful, used a lot, very complex, lots of fields, very complex screens, and they know how to use it, but it's not easy. It's not necessarily as efficient as it could be. And so we've replaced that with a Fluid version. And as part of that, we've been able to do things like have a configurable search capability so that instead of getting the search pages and search results and search process that we delivered, it's now completely configurable by customers. So doesn't seem like a big thing. It's a big deal when the customers can make search work exactly the way they want, so they can identify an end user. So those are the examples. I think we're going to continue. Fluid is, for the most part, just our development environment now, and it's what we're building our applications in. We're going to continue to both deliver new Fluid capabilities and convert existing functionality we have in Classic to Fluid indefinitely. We will never go 100% there because it doesn't make sense for us to convert some of the pages to Fluid because the value for our customers is not that great. Setup pages, things like that. But for where we have a lot of use, we're going to continue to look at whether Fluid can be an investment that pays off for our customers.
And we're continuing to invest in that Fluid user experience. I have to say that of all the things that we talked about at RECONNECT, I think the refresh of the look and feel, the modernization of just the overall user interface probably got the most attention, the most accolades. From everything to the lighter icons and some of the new styling, the quick access to favorites, and of course, breadcrumbs was a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
But probably the most significant thing that we did as part of that effort with PeopleTools 859 was introducing navigation search. What's the importance of doing that? Why did we do that?
Yeah, so when we started PeopleTools 859, I told the team that if we could do just one thing really, really, really well, I wanted to try to change the way that people move throughout the application and go from one place to the other. Because I think that underpins the user experience in a lot of ways. And if you look at on the internet, you move from place to place by searching, by using Google and going there, right? And that's just or whatever search engine you're going to use. So we've always had a navigation search. I demoed that years ago. The reality is it didn't work great, right? You had to get to it. It was a couple clicks to get to it. The search results oftentimes didn't show what you wanted because we were just doing a straight search against the descriptions and the labels for the different pages. We've completely changed that, right? And now the search bar is right on the homepage, right on the top banner. It's open. It's defaulted to nav search. We hide hidden pages. We look at the results, the context, and the ordering now is very different. So we're looking at where has this user been before, and we're putting those search results up near the top. We've in the application images, we're going through and updating our CREFs and our descriptions, and we're adding synonyms. So there's a ton of things that we've done to make the search results more relevant, more timely. We are using real-time indexing, so as you navigate to a page, when you go and search again, that page you've gone to, if the search results match much, is going to go up at the top. So I believe now, and we're starting to see this even in our own internal team when we're doing demos for each other, people are using navigation search to move around even more than home pages and icons because it's so easy to do. So I think I truly believe that this now will have the largest impact on how our end users get to where they're trying to go in PeopleSoft that we've had ever in PeopleSoft. We've also done things. We've made the home pages nicer. We've added the notifications on the side so you can see them. We've added an easy tab, quick launch tab to get to favorites and recents, and those are all really important. The new styling, but I'm the most excited about the search because the search, the navigation search, because I think that's going to really impact how people use the system. So move to 859. You get the search. It's going to be great.
Right. Get to 859.
Yeah.
We've also been doing a lot to bring conversational interfaces into the user experience. And you announced Picasso, PeopleSoft Intelligent Chat Assistant for Oracle, short name Picasso, our handle for our chatbot. Why is that an important investment area for us?
User experience is really about the expectations that users have about how technology, how they interact with applications and technology. That's largely informed by how they interact with technology in their regular life, in their consumer world. And if we're going to continue to meet and hopefully exceed expectations on a user experience, it's not a target that is static. It continues to move. And if you look at the consumer internet and consumer companies and services that everyone uses, more and more you're going to see a conversational interface, which means you can ask it questions, voice or text or typing it in, and the technology should understand what you're asking and provide the answers. And so it's important for us to, if we're going to continue to evolve with the rest of the technology world, that we're able to do that within PeopleSoft. We've been doing that for several years now, but the technology capabilities have evolved, and the content that we're providing in our applications through services and the pre-built bots effectively has evolved to the point where now we're able to have a single PeopleSoft assistant by role. So instead of having different chatbots for each functional area, we can have now one assistant for employees, or we can have an assistant for suppliers or for applicants, and have that assistant leverage and pull from skills across all of PeopleSoft, and not just PeopleSoft HCM or ERP, but clustered solutions across all of them. And I think that's a big difference, right? Because now the user doesn't need to decide which area they want to ask questions about and go to the chatbot for that area. They can just go to the digital Picasso assistant and ask questions, and the assistant figures out where to pull that content and how to answer those questions. So it's a big difference, and I think it's one of the kind of investment areas that we've gotten the most phones coming out to take pictures in our conferences over the last couple of years. I think with the changes we've made with Picasso now, we're going to really see an acceleration of deployments there.
I love the way that it makes the software adapt to the human and the way that I want to interact with it. It's about the question that I ask or the text that I enter versus me having to know and understand the system and how to navigate around. I love that paradigm shift. I also think it's great how powerful the Oracle Digital Assistant platform is, right? So we obviously know that so many of our customers run heterogeneous, platform environments. And I love that we can have our Picasso and our skills, and customers can take them and extend them to even include third-party applications they have integrated.
Yeah, and it's when we talk about cloud, it's one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to continue to talk about cloud, because our cloud applications are heavily used and deploy the digital assistant. So it's there's some consistency as customers move from PeopleSoft to our cloud applications. Some of that user experience will still be the same, and so it's not a relearning. But it also is an example of leveraging cloud technologies within PeopleSoft, right? I mean, we didn't have to go build that within PeopleSoft. We could leverage something that takes effectively no deployment for our customers. It's an integration with a cloud technology and a cloud service effectively that is leverageable within PeopleSoft. So it's a good example of taking advantage of cloud investment and evolution without having to move off of PeopleSoft.
Speaking of that, you announced and demonstrated another instance of that in your keynote, and that was Oracle Guided Learning, real-time interactive help that's connected to PeopleSoft. Why is that important, and how does that affect the user experience?
Yeah, I think that with the Oracle Guided Learning, which is another example of a cloud service, it's it draws from some of the same kind of requirements as PeopleSoft UPK has done in the past, but it's just a much better and more effective solution because it uses the real live application. So if someone is wondering how to perform a particular task, Oracle Guided Learning will walk them through that, not in a training environment or not in static screen pages, but in the actual application, and helps them guides them through that. It's also another example like the digital assistant, where if the end users become familiar with guided learning and how it helps them with PeopleSoft, when they move to our cloud applications, we have guided learning there as well. And so it's a similar, some of these tools and frameworks that people are getting used to are just help make the transition to cloud applications easier because there's consistency there. So I'm excited about it. I think it looks great. It's highly effective. And it's just another good example of continuing to make the PeopleSoft solution better for our customers by leveraging investments that Oracle's making in other areas.
So in addition to extending the value of PeopleSoft by tapping into some of these Oracle Cloud technologies, we've talked a lot about another opportunity for PeopleSoft customers to tap into the power of cloud, and that's running PeopleSoft on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. And yep. We've done, we've been doing a lot there for a few years. We've really sort of upped the ante. Can you talk a little bit about what we're doing there?
Yeah, so we have been investing in that quite heavily for the last 5 or 6 years, and the reason we've been doing that is because if you look at the operational aspects of running PeopleSoft, there's the kind of core operations of the data center, getting servers and storage and networking and all that, and we feel we started off by looking at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure or PeopleSoft and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure as a way of reducing those costs. What's become apparent and where we've invested over the last couple of years and where it's really starting to accelerate is when you start to bring together the administrative aspects of PeopleSoft. So not the infrastructure layer, but everything that the things that sit above that. So doing refreshes of refreshing your test database with production data, creating new implementations or new instances to do for training or conference room pilots. Doing things as simple as as backing up, doing backups, scaling. So for particular times, being able to add more middle tiers, for example, because you're going to go through open enrollment and you're going to have more users. Those types of kind of PeopleSoft administrative lifecycle management types of operations have traditionally been very expensive because we have DBAs and administrators that need to do that and therefore don't have time to do other things. What we're doing now with PeopleSoft on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is automating all of that. And with we've been doing that for the last couple of years, where we've taken a big step with Cloud Manager 12 that we just came out with recently, in moving into what we call policy management, which is automating tasks that happen frequently. And so let me give you an example. If you're running PeopleSoft applications on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure using Cloud Manager now, you can set up policies that bring your applications servers down, quiesce them, bring them down, turn them off effectively at 11 p.m. every night, and turn them back on at 6 a.m. automatically without anyone touching it, and therefore save on 7 hours of compute resources. So the savings in that example, if you took your non-critical applications that are tests or demos or training, and you just turn them off overnight and turn them back on in the morning without anyone touching them, you could now save 1/3 of your compute costs. That's huge, right? Same things with backups. Same thing with scaling, where if you know that you're going to have a period like during the day when you have more users and you want to add more middle tiers to support more users, you can now do all that automatically automated, not with someone typing, but with all through scheduling or event-based policy management. So that's available now. And what's really exciting is we've been working on taking that and bringing in machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning using the Oracle's data science cloud service. And what we're very close to being able to deliver is predictive autonomous PeopleSoft, which basically says, instead of having someone tell me when I need to scale up, I'm going to use machine learning to predict when I'm going to need to scale up using an anomaly detection model. And so we've built it already. We're in the middle of testing and getting real world customer examples. As we get there, when you couple all the things we've done over the last 10 years with PeopleSoft, of going to a single code line and having selective adoption and test frameworks, and a lot of things we're doing in lifecycle management with automatic PUM. And when you bring all those things together and you add in the machine learning and with Cloud Manager on OCI, you really get to this level of maturity with PeopleSoft from an operations and lifecycle management standpoint that was unimaginable 10 years ago. I mean, we couldn't have ever even thought that we'd be able to do it because we didn't have enough control over the infrastructure layer. So it's really exciting. It's a lot of it. There's a lot of investment, and that really plays to that second part of how do we reduce operational costs. I think we're well on our way.
It's really remarkable what we're starting to talk about. It's not lost on me that Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is not the only cloud provider out there, and some of our customers can continue for various reasons to run their PeopleSoft environments on premise. For those customers that don't run an Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, will they be able to achieve those same types of benefits?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is no. I mean, some of the investments we make. So for example, with PeopleTools 859, I've mentioned this before, but one of the things we've done is now when we put out a PRP, we'll automatically download that into the PUM image. That'll work on premise. So if they have it on premise or in the cloud infrastructure, that'll work. We've put investment around customization management so that our merging utilities as part of the applying maintenance will automatically bring and merge customizations in so that customers don't have to reapply them and take all the costs. That'll work on premise. But a lot of the stuff that we're talking about around policy management, we can't do on premise because everyone's on premise infrastructure looks different. So there's no way for us to control it. There's no way for us to automate it. We can't do it. It's impossible. And the same thing with other clouds. Like we can't build a solution that works across all clouds because all the APIs are different. The controls and the infrastructure is different. A lot of the capabilities, and we're building from the PeopleSoft down and from the cloud infrastructure up. And so as we bring together what has traditionally been kind of this cloud operations with the traditional PeopleSoft lifecycle management and marry those two, it's not possible to do a lot of that on premise. So we'll always support customers running PeopleSoft on premise, but our focus in terms of our investment really is focused on those on the use cases where customers are running on OCI, because we can do so much more than we can on premise. So going forward, we're going to continue to focus on that. My expectation is we'll have half our customers running on OCI in the next 5 years, and we're well on our way. We have hundreds of customers that are running. Some of our biggest customers now are running PeopleSoft on OCI.
With the enhancements and sort of the value that you talked about, it really circles us back around to where we started, right? In terms of lowering the cost of operations. And it's pretty clear that it's just not possible to achieve the same level of impact there without running on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It feels like every time we have one of these discussions, we say, like, we've never been doing more. This is the most exciting time. I feel like that's more true now than ever before. There's so much energy, so much adoption in the community, so much great dialogue. We've obviously covered a ton of ground. If you could have customers take away one thing from this discussion, what would it be?
To stay engaged with Oracle across its multiple dimensions and really work with us to help them. I mean, I think that those customers that have decided to stay on PeopleSoft, the ones that have really engaged with us and listened to what we're doing and and been willing to make changes have seen the results, right? And we have a whole bunch of those customers that have done that. There's also customers that they're doing things the way they did them 10 years ago. And for those customers, the PeopleSoft solution is good. It just it's not that different than it was. So, and likewise for those customers who are looking at cloud, either cloud on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure or cloud tech, services or cloud applications, stay engaged with us. We are here. We're here to help companies and organizations be successful going into the future. And the answer to that is there's not one answer to that fits everyone. And so we do have our customers' best interests at heart. I know that not all the customers always believe that, but if you watch what we do and if you look at what we're trying to achieve, we are trying to do that. And I think, today's PeopleSoft is a long way away from what it was. And the questions I get about, is PeopleSoft a viable solution, and is Oracle still investing in PeopleSoft? And you don't have to believe what we say. Just look at what we've done, right? I mean, we've made some huge strides in PeopleSoft, and we're going to continue to do that.
Well, I can't wait for the next time we get back together to hear what the next set of investment strategies are. Paco, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks.
So that was a lot of content. If you'd like to learn more about any of the initiatives that we talked about, there are a few important resources that you can take advantage of. First, the PeopleSoft information portal is available at peoplesoftinfo.com. For blogs about our new features, our initiatives, customer stories, and more, go to blogs.oracle.com/PeopleSoft. We've got podcasts available, PeopleSoft Chat, available anywhere that you like to listen to podcasts. And of course, watch YouTube and subscribe to this channel to be in the know on all of the videos that we release. We can't wait to hear what you think about all the new features and capabilities that we're working on. And we're already hard at work on what's coming next. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good, Sparky.